So we observed that y is equal to x का ग्राफ कुछ इस तरह लगेगा. Okay. We also plotted the graph of y is equal to x by 2, and we also plotted the graph of y is equal to 2x. Okay, if you go and check, this is exactly what you will get. Or in fact, if you plot them all on the same piece of paper, you'll get something like this. Okay. Now, guys, एक चीज observe करते हैं. When you have y is equal to x, okay, when you multiplied this with 2, okay, the graph basically moved towards the y-axis, right? Similarly, if you divide this with 2 or if you multiply it with half, the graph moved away from the y-axis, isn't it? Okay, so remember guys, always whenever you have a graph, okay, given a function y is equal to f of x, okay, the graph of y is equal to a times f of x will change. How will it change? Okay, the graph will move towards the y-axis, okay, towards the y-axis, okay, if a is positive, like in this case y equals to 2x, and the graph will move away from the y-axis if x is basically a fraction. Okay, positive is still a fraction, like x is equal, like y is equal to x by 2. Okay. Now, something similar you can observe for quadratic functions, guys. We have the graph of y is equal to x square here, right? So let's plot the graph of y is equal to 2x square. This is how it will be, right? And let's plot the graph of y is equal to x square by 2. This is how it will be, okay? तो हो क्या रहा है guys यहाँ पे? See, when you have y is equal to x square, x equal to 1 पे y 1 आएगा, right? But यहाँ पे for y is equal to 2x square, at x equals to 1, y will be equal to how much? 2. So for the same value of x, अपना y बढ़ गया, तो ग्राफ थोड़ा ऊपर आ गया, right? That means the graph basically shrunk about the y-axis. Same way, if you talk about y is equal to x square by 2, guys, when you take x is equal to 1 here, y कितना होगा? 1 by 2 हो जाएगा, isn't it? So for the same value of x, okay, पहले y कितना था? Y is equal to x square में 1 था, but now for y is equal to x square upon 2, y का value half हो गया. तो अपना graph kind of, expanded, okay, or opened about the y-axis, right? So remember this. Okay, for any quadratic function, y is equal to f of x. If y is equal to a of fx हो रहा है, okay, the graph is getting multiplied by some constant. Okay, if the constant is positive, the graph will shrink about the y-axis, like the case of y is equal to 2x square. Okay, it is becoming like this. It is getting shrunk. Okay, it is moving towards the y-axis, right? And similarly, if a is a fraction, then the graph will open about. Okay, let's go on further, guys. Okay, we saw the graph of y is equal to 2x. We also saw the graph of y equals to 2x plus 5. क्या ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं guys हम लोग? We observe that the same line has moved up by 5 steps. 5 से ऊपर गया same graph, right? Okay, so given a particular graph, let's say y is equal to f of x, the graph of f of x plus a will shift a steps ऊपर या नीचे depending upon the sign of a. So like in this case, you are adding 5, so graph is going up by 5 steps. अगर हमें graph of y is equal to 2x minus 5 निकालना होता, we would have basically moved the graph of y equals to 2x by 5 steps down. Okay, so right now whenever you have y is equal to f of x, उसमें हम लोग a add कर रहे हैं. Okay, the graph will shift up or down by a number of steps. Okay, now suppose you are not making changes in y, you are making changes in x. Okay, so same equation right now, guys, y is equal to 2x plus 5. I am writing it as y is equal to 2x plus 2 into 2.5. 5 is nothing but 2 into 2.5, right? So from both of them, you can simply take a 2 common, right? So basically, this graph is nothing but y is equal to twice of x plus 2.5. I'm taking 2 common. अब देखो, if you compare these two graphs, okay, पहले y equals to 2x था, अब हमने x के जगह पे क्या किया है? 2.5 कर दिया है, right? 2.5 plus x कर दिया है, right? That means your graph shifted 2.5 steps towards the left. Can you observe this? Blue से red में आ गया है. So it is moving 2.5 steps towards the left, isn't it? Okay, so remember, okay, for y is equal to f of x plus a, okay, जब change y में नहीं x में हो रहा है, okay, x plus a हो रहा है, bracket के अंदर x plus a है, okay, when that change is happening, the graph will shift a steps to the left or right depending upon the sign of a. So here a is basically positive, so you are shifting towards the left. Okay, अगर a negative हुआ तो it will shift towards the right. Okay, guys, so we plotted the graph of y is equal to x, right? Now, what about the graph of y is equal to mod x? Now, guys, what does mod exactly do? Okay, जब हम y is equal to x लेते हैं, तो x अगर -1 लिया, y -1 ही होगा, right? But for y is equal to mod x, guys, if you take x as -1, mod of -1 will make y positive, right? Even if you take x as -2 here, mod of -2 will be +2, right? So even for a negative value of x, the y value will always remain positive. So ये जो सारा negative values है ना, guys, यहाँ पे से निकल के they'll basically become positive, right? So this red colored graph is the graph for y is equal to mod x. Okay, तो mod basically करेगा क्या? Mod will make all the negative values simply positive, right? So you can make note of this. Okay, given any function y is equal to f of x, the graph of mod fx, okay, all negative values for y become positive, or basically you will take the reflection about the x-axis. All negative values, right? Okay, all negative values will become positive, right? So guys, whatever we have seen right now, the properties of a times fx, okay, f of a plus x, sorry, f of x plus a, fx the whole plus a, and the mod, okay, these are called as transpose, okay, the tricks or the methods of transpose, okay, which will help you to plot the graphs really very quickly. Okay, let's see how we apply them to solve questions. So guys, my first question is to plot the graph of y is equal to x minus 2 the whole square. I will start with the reference graph, which I know the graph of y is equal to x square. So I will draw the graph of y is equal to x square first. But now I observe that मैंने x को replace कर दिया है किससे, x minus 2 से. So the graph will move 2 steps towards the right. And this is the required answer for y is equal to x minus 2 the whole square. We plot y is equal to mod of x square minus 4. Okay, so again we start with the reference graph y is equal to x square. Okay, next step क्या है, y is equal to x square minus 4. So we basically make the graph go down. Okay, जब भी हम लोग f of x plus a या minus a लेते हैं तो graph across the y axis shift होता है, right? So here I am making it minus 4. So since y value is reducing by 4, the graph will go down by 4 steps. Okay, now next step is you apply mod. Mod में क्या होगा, all the negative values जो है यहाँ पे, see guys, यहाँ पे below the x-axis, okay, below the x-axis, these are the negative values of y you have, right? Mod will basically make all these values positive, so the graph will become something like this. Okay, all the negative values become positive. Okay, this is the change that will happen, and this is the graph for y is equal to mod of x square minus 4. Next question is, guys, y is equal to x square minus 9 divided by 3. Again we start with a reference graph which we know y is equal to x square. Okay, उसे हम क्या करेंगे, 3 से डिवाइड कर देंगे. Okay, whenever we divide by some value or if we multiply by a fraction, the graph basically expands about the y-axis, right? So the graph will expand about the y-axis. Okay, the next step is you basically subtract 3. So you take the graph down by 3 steps. Okay, this is the required graph for y is equal to x square minus 9 divided by 3. Now guys, a point of caution here is, okay, if suppose this was the question you had in the exam, plot this, okay, and we had multiple options. Okay, एक option suppose ऐसा भी रहा होगा. Okay, suppose something like this. Okay, so the minimum value is minus 3, but the roots are not the same, right? Okay, so you have to always ensure that, okay, the minimum and the roots are always as per the required equation. So यहाँ पे y is equal to x square minus 9 divided by 3 है. Okay, ये y 0 कब होगा, when x square is equal to plus minus 3, ये मिल गया आपको आपके roots. Okay, and where will the graph be minimum, when x square is minimum? X square minimum क्या होगा, 0 होगा, right? So y is minimum when minus 9 by 3, y is minus 3, right? Okay, so always keep note of these small things, guys, when you're solving questions. Okay, the solving process becomes really very easy per se. Okay, let's go on further, guys. Okay, y is equal to 4 plus mod of x minus 2. Okay, guys, I'll tell you, if you do not know the transpose ka approach, this problem is basically, you know, a nightmare, because then we'll have to take two cases. Okay, पहले जहाँ पे mod of x minus 2 पॉजिटिव होगा, मतलब x minus 2 पॉजिटिव होगा. दूसरा केस जहाँ x minus 2 नेगेटिव होगा. तो जहाँ पॉजिटिव हुआ वो 4 plus x minus 2 होगा, नेगेटिव हुआ तो 4 plus 2 minus x होगा, right? Okay, so it will be 2 plus x wherever it is basically greater than 0, x minus 2, and this will be 6 minus x wherever it is less than 0, x minus 2 less than 0. Okay, x minus 2 greater than 0 मतलब क्या, guys? X should be greater than 2, right? And x minus 2 less than 0 मतलब क्या, x should be less than 2. So x greater than 2 के लिए, guys, ये वाला ग्राफ काम करेगा 2 plus x, and basically x less than 2 के लिए ये वाला ग्राफ काम करेगा x 6 minus x. Okay, so basically यही करना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे. Okay, ये लाइन बनाना पड़ेगा. Okay, x equal to 2. Okay, greater than 2 के लिए basically x 2 plus x basically ये वाला ग्राफ होल्ड करेगा, right? Whenever x is greater than 2, this graph will hold, right? Okay, for x greater than 2, this graph will hold. And what is the graph का value? 2 plus x. Okay, so at x equal to 3, इसकी value 5 होगी. Okay, and at 4, इसकी value 6 होगी. Okay, so it will be something like this probably. Okay, and for x less than 2, the graph will be 6 minus x. तो x equal to 2 पे तो इसकी value 4 ही होगी नीचे. Okay, x equal to 1 पे इसकी value क्या रही होगी? इसकी value 5 रही होगी, right? It will be something like this. Okay, see, it's such a nightmare right now. Okay, but let's apply, guys, the method of transpose and see how this thing becomes really very easy. Okay, you will get the same graph. You can make note of this if you want. Okay, see, I start with the reference graph y is equal to mod x. Okay, okay, I do y is equal to mod x minus 2. Okay, जब भी हम x में चेंज करते हैं f के अंदर ब्रैकेट में x minus something. Okay, in that case you will move the graph across the x axis, right? So यहाँ पे x minus 2 है, the graph will move towards the right. Okay, so it will move towards the right by 2 steps as I've done here. Okay, and then it is basically what x minus 2 plus 4. यही है ना क्वेश्चन अपना, 4 plus something. Okay, 4 बाद में लिख दिया मैंने, क्या ही फर्क पड़ेगा, right? So we are basically adding 4 now. That means the graph will move by 4 steps, right? See, this is the exact graph which we plotted pehle with a lot of headache. Okay, but transpose makes things really very, very easy for us, right? Okay, guys, let's go on to the next question. Okay, this is the question I want you to solve. Please pause the video, try it out, and see how quickly you can solve the question by using the method of transpose. Okay, guys, so we start with the reference graph y is equal to mod x, right? We go for y is equal to mod x minus 1 now. X minus 1 matlab kya? Graph will shift towards the right by 1 step, right? Next step is you basically plot y is equal to minus of x minus 1. अब क्या हो रहा है guys? All the values of y are becoming negative, isn't it? तो जो values of y की पहले positive थी mod के अंदर, अब वो सारी क्या हो जाएगी negative? So basically I'll take the mirror image of the graph across the x-axis, something like this. Okay, graph नीचे आ जाएगा. It will become the mirror image, right? Why? All the values of y are becoming negative. Okay, and the last step is हम लोग इसी में 3 को add कर रहे हैं, right? So it will become 3 minus mod of x minus 1. So we'll take the graph up by 3 steps. This is the required graph. As simple as that, guys.